Peter had met Jesus before, particularly when Andrew, his brother, came to him claiming that he had found the Messiah. And they both, along with James and John, have made the best of life in the little town of Capernaum. That day they met Jesus had to be inspiring. We know, don't we? It was powerfully and deeply revealing. Meeting Jesus had to be spiritually transforming. In fact, when Jesus met Simon, he expressed to him that he would refer to him from then on as Peter, because that name means rock. And even though that day they became what you might refer to as disciples of Jesus, they returned home and continued their fishing trade. That is, until that day when Peter and Andrew were out on the shore cleaning nets from an all-night fishing expedition with their partners, James and John. It was a most disappointing night because they had absolutely nothing to show for an all-night fishing expedition. Now remember, we're not talking about fishing as a hobby. We're talking about fishing as a means to take care of one's family. Not one fish caught that night, and both sets of brothers, Peter, Andrew, James, John, have returned to shore with empty boats. Every fisherman along the shoreline that morning knew they had to get back out there the next night, so they're cleaning and mending their nets. They're also mending mental exhaustion, making preparation for the next night's work, when Jesus approaches unexpected and unannounced. And upon approach, Jesus tells Peter, push out a little more from the shore. In fact, go out into the deep and let down your net for a catch. Peter has to think to himself, Jesus, what an inspiration you are to have tapped us in spiritual places that would make us leave John to follow you. We've been talking about your messages. We've been searching the meaning of your presence. And ever since we last heard you, we've been talking about nothing more than the impact you've had on our lives. But I have to conclude, you probably don't know much about fishing. So he responds to Jesus, we were out there all night, Jesus, and we caught not one single fish. But because you've asked me to, I'll oblige you, I'll comply with your request. Well, as soon as Peter and Andrew cast their nets into the water, they realized that they were in for quite a spiritual surprise. In fact, so much so that they have to bid James and John to come on out there with their boat to help them pull in all these fish. And it's at that moment that Peter knows he's let his doubts and his experiences force him into an initial response that limited his belief in the impossible, which should have been the gripping of a healthy spiritual imagination. And as a result of that, Peter drops to his knees in personal regret. He makes his confession of shame. He reveals that he thinks he's not even worth Jesus being in his presence or in his proximity. And Jesus ministers to him, Mount Ararat, in a way that I think every one of us needs to rehearse and celebrate. Now, it's not simply that he doesn't rebuke Peter or walk away from Peter. It's what he says to him that I think every one of us needs to accept, that the Lord is repetitively saying the same thing to us. Simon, don't be ashamed. I'm not rebuking you for who you have been up until now. That's why you responded the way that you have, because all you have to go on are your life experiences up till now. But from now on, I'm going to teach you how to fish for men. I would expect this kind of response from you, Peter, if you're only leaning on your life's experiences and your spiritual maturation up till now. But from now on, I'm going to stretch you and I'm going to grow you. I'm going to pull on you. I'm going to push you. I'm going to challenge you. I'm going to embolden you until in the face of similar circumstances, your response is going to be much more faith-infused than doubt-strained. I admit it, I was arrested by this intersection, this interspace, this shift in discussion. I was arrested by the tenor and the tone of the text, the compassionate way that Jesus handles Peter. He, in essence, grabs him from being pulled by all his life has been until now. And he helps him to step with faith over that threshold into a space Jesus refers to as from now on. Now, isn't that the invitation to every one of us? Particularly after all this strangeness that we have experienced these last so many months. Pandemic, not just that alone, but what about politics and the ecosystem and race matters, our faith, our fears, our hopes, our reservations, our dreams, our nightmares. All of these are tensions that are affected by everything that has been a part of our collective experiences up until now. Is anybody listening to me? We're all shaped by it. I don't care how strong you are. I don't care how much you want to purport to people that you walked through the pandemic, you walked through Trump, you've walked through the ecosystem upheaval, you've walked through the race matters without any scars. Nothing has affected you. You've not dealt with trauma. You're not dealing with any mental trauma. You can tell me that if you want to, but can I tell you that every one of us in this room, no matter how deep we are in Jesus, how anointed we are, no matter how long you've been in the kingdom, all of us are shaped by our upbringings and our backgrounds and our past experiences and our personal encounters, the things that we've been exposed to, the mindsets that we've established, the things that have become cemented, if not conflicted, beliefs in us. Every one of us is shaped by and affected by everything that's been a part of our lives up until now. You can't escape it. You live, I live, we live inside the border of up till now. This text is teaching us, however, that when you establish a relationship with Jesus, you are not stuck living in the border of up till now, because he brings the gift of from now on. I wish I had somebody here. This is what he offers. It's what he offers us today. It's what he offers us every day. That you're not cemented, nor are you imprisoned by that which is only up till now in your life. No matter how shaded, no matter how hurtful, no matter how fatiguing, no matter how frustrating, no matter how depleting, no matter how depressing, if all of that is a part of your up till now, Jesus has come to your life on the shoreline while you are sowing, mending, and dealing with your nets, while also trying to mend your disappointment and trauma. He comes alongside you and he says, you're not a prisoner to up till now. I got a gift for you early in the morning, and the gift is this: from now on, you will fish for men. You don't have to shape ideas about yourself or others. You don't have to only believe that it's gonna turn out a certain way, because in your life that has always been the way it has turned out. Jesus brings so many gifts to our lives when we respond to his invitation for salvation, for him to draw close to us. But can I tell you that one of the strongest gifts the Lord gives to us is the shift in our lives that he gifts to us from whatever has been up till now, and he releases us to a from now on future full of possibilities. Here's the question: what was Jesus inviting Peter to accept? What perhaps was Jesus challenging Peter to release? What was he encouraging Peter to change? What might he have been pushing Peter to face? What could he have been suggesting that Peter consider? What was he blessing Peter to step into? What perhaps was he trying to stir in Peter, or awaken in him, or perhaps release in him? And I know if you're like me, you're interested, because we know, don't we, the limitations that come with only using up till now thoughts and emotions. We know, don't we, how restrictive that can be. I know you have masks on, but can I hear you? We know how limiting and lowering and lessening that can be. We know how depleting and demeaning it can become to us when we are imprisoned to living every day of our lives only with the data of what has happened up till now. We know what it feels like to live every day only looking forward to the same thing that disappointed us before. But Jesus comes, and when he comes, he says, listen, child of God, you're not stuck with your lived experiences up till now, because when you connect to me, I give to you a from now on possibility. Eyes haven't seen, ears have not heard. He that hath begun a good work in you shall perform it. I know this, Mount Ararat. I know we as a church will never again be the church we were up till March 2020. I want you to mourn that if you need to. I want you to regret it. I want you to eulogize it, because it's nonetheless true. Whatever we were, whoever we were, however we operated prior to March 2020, there's no going back to that. We've been threatened by too much. We have overcome too much. Most of you can testify things you took for granted prior to March 2020. Some of that stuff you don't take for granted now. Some things are appreciated more than you have ever appreciated them. We had too many false assumptions about what really mattered, and the discovery that it is true that at the end of the day, heaven and earth can pass away, in-person gathering can pass away, but God's word abides forever, and that in extremely dark times, his word is still a lamp unto our feet and a light unto our pathway. And we must accept and acknowledge that not only will church never again be exactly like it's been up till now, you will never again be the person you were up till the pandemic settled in. There is no returning to what was normality in your life. You know why? Because you had no fish in the net when you got to shore. All we have is Jesus's invitation to whatever he's going to bless us to become from now on. I had the funniest exchange when preaching a few weeks back, walking towards the pastor I hadn't seen since 2019, before the pandemic. And it was clear how he and I used to greet each other. It was with that aggressive, what I call man hug, hand out, hard shake, bring it in. What up, boy? That kind of hug where you got to hit each other kind of hard, bring it in, all that. But with the strangeness of COVID, I approached him fist clenched, arms outstretched. He was approaching me hand open, arm extended. So when I saw his hand open, I opened my hand. When he saw my fist clench, he clenched his fist. By the time we were close enough, we were both so confused, looking like cultural misfits and absent of any man cool points. I had to finally go ahead and make my confession. Bruh, with COVID, I don't know what to do anymore. I have run into members, and while I'm trying to run to them, I got to remember social distancing. So I'm running to him and making a U-turn and running away. I've sat on planes and been around people where if they sneeze, they cough, they look funny. If they don't have the mask all the way up, I'm looking like something wrong, and I need to call the COVID pandemic relief squad. Do I have any company in this room? We just don't know what to do.